13 years, my parents and older brother lied to me. They told me I was paralyzed, that I'd never walk, run, or live a normal life. But the truth? I was completely healthy. I am Caleb Turner. Location, Salt Lake City. They told me I'd never walk. I was 5 years old. I didn't even know what spinal dystrophy meant, but it sounded final when the doctor said it, like a sentence handed down by God himself. My mother gasped. My father cursed under his breath. My older brother Levi just stared at me like I had died in front of him. They put me in a wheelchair that week, blue frame, custom nameplate. Caleb, in bold white letters, like a name tag on a cage. I lived downstairs. My world ended at the bottom of the staircase. We don't want you getting hurt, they said. The second floor is dangerous, they said. So I stayed put. Quiet, obedient, crippled. Mom homeschooled me until I was 16. My education was a mix of pre-recorded videos, Christian curriculum, and endless therapy sessions with a man named Dr. Randall Holloway, who always called me champ and never once asked me how I felt. He always spoke to my parents, never to me. I was a medical object, a living diagnosis, a pity project. You're special, Mom used to say, but what she really meant was, you're controllable. It started with a twitch. I was 11, lying in bed, and I felt my left foot spasm, just a flicker, a flick. I told Mom. She brushed it off. You're probably dreaming, she said. But the next morning, the pills she gave me were a different color. I didn't ask questions, just swallowed them. At 13, I started skipping doses, hiding pills in a sock drawer, faking sleep, testing my limits. My legs started waking up, slowly, quietly, like a house warming after winter. The first time I stood, I almost passed out. It was past midnight, everyone asleep. I unlocked the chair, lowered myself to the floor, pulled myself to the wall, and then I stood. Wobbly, dizzy, but I stood. My knees buckled after a few seconds, but I didn't fall. I laughed, just once, then dragged myself back into the chair and re-locked it. That was the moment my family lost their hold on me and never even knew it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't scream, I can walk. I didn't run upstairs and demand justice. No, I smiled, took my pills like a good boy, let Levi wheel me out to the porch every morning. But inside, I was training, not my legs, my patience, because one day I'd stand up in front of all of them and make them sit down and shut up. The next morning, I asked Dad, why didn't we ever get a second opinion? He blinked just once, then smiled like a man who'd practiced lying in the mirror. Because we trust Dr. Holloway, he said. He's practically family. That word again, family. No one ever suspects that the people smiling at your bedside are the ones who put you there. The staircase had 14 steps. I counted them every morning when Levi walked past me with his gym bag. Each step creaked differently. The third one squeaked sharp and fast. The 10th groaned low, like it hated being stepped on. I knew them all. I had memorized their song because one day I was going to walk it myself. The second floor was always off limits. Storage, Mom said. Black mold, Dad added. No point going up there, Caleb. Nothing important, Levi mumbled without looking at me. Funny, if there was nothing up there, they were awfully obsessed with keeping it locked. The door at the top of the stairs had a keypad, code locked, old school, clunky, beige plastic, 4 digits. I didn't need to guess. I just watched. Dad entered it one night when he forgot to close the blinds, reflected in the window behind him. 825, Levi's birthday. Of course, it took me a week to get strong enough. I worked in the dark, lifting soup cans in secret, stretching at night, using the bedpost as a balance bar. By the 7th night, I was ready. I waited until everyone was asleep. I climbed out of the chair, used the wall for balance. 1 step, then 2. By the time I reached the 4th step, I was sweating through my shirt. 10th step, the groan. 12th, almost there. 14. I typed in the code 0825. The lock clicked. It smelled like dust and guilt. The hallway was carpeted, soft, no creaks up here. I passed 2 closed doors, both locked. The third was open. Inside was a room that looked lived in. Neatly made bed, a small desk, old textbooks stacked in the corner, a faded poster of a football team on the wall. It was my room, or it should have been. In the closet, I found a box. Old toys, stuffed animals I vaguely remembered holding when I was 4, a pair of worn toddler shoes, and taped to the side, a photo, me, standing. In the photo, I was 2, maybe 3, both feet flat on the grass, reaching toward the camera. And next to me, Dad, smiling, holding my hand. Why would a wheelchair-bound kid have standing photos? Why would those photos be hidden? I kept digging. Under the bed, I found an old hard drive, dusty, unlabeled, duct-taped shut. I took it, snuck back downstairs, collapsed into the chair before my legs gave out. Then I waited. The next morning, while Dad was out and Mom was busy cleaning the kitchen, I plugged the drive into Levi's old laptop. Most of the files were junk, except one folder, camera feed, 2007 security footage, a small child's bedroom, a crib, a toddler, and in the corner of the frame, a shadowy figure, Dad, injecting something into my leg. No nurses, no doctors, just him, a syringe, again and again, night after night. I sat there staring at the screen. My legs burned, my stomach flipped. Then I smiled. He thought I wouldn't remember, and he was right. But the camera remembered, and so did the timestamp. July 9th, 2007. The night they stole my body and called it love. Now I had proof. Now I had purpose. Every Tuesday and Friday at 3 p.m., I had therapy over Zoom. They said in-person appointments would be too exhausting for me. Dr. Randall Holloway was always upbeat, always in a suit, always called me champ. He asked surface-level questions, took long pauses, then told my parents how resilient I was. He never asked what I felt about the chair, never questioned why I had no medical records since age 5, never noticed the part of me that had already begun to wake up. I used to think he was just bad at his job. Now I wondered if he had one at all. After finding the footage of my father injecting me, I went back to Holloway. Not to confess, to watch. I studied him like prey. He blinked too often, smiled too quickly, and he never responded when I referenced real symptoms, just said, interesting, and moved on. So I tested him. I made up a story about phantom limb pain in my left arm. He nodded and said it was normal for your condition. Except there was no known case where my diagnosis involved arm paralysis. I recorded the call. Then I hacked Dad's email. The password was Levi 1987, same as the front door keypad. Men who lie for decades rarely change their habits. Buried in a hidden folder called Consults were a dozen payment records. Recipient, Randall H. Holloway Service, Private Behavioral Reinforcement Support. Amount, $5,000 month. Cash routed through a shell company in Nevada. Note, maintain illusion, reinforce dependency. Do not encourage progress. Reinforce dependency. That's what they'd been doing for 19 years. Not treating me, not helping me, programming me. The next Zoom session, I hit record on 3 devices. I asked him if I'd ever be able to walk again. He smiled. Progress takes time. I asked him if I should try physical therapy. He frowned. Not necessary yet. Let's wait until your next evaluation. Then I dropped the bomb. I walked up 14 stairs last week. He blinked. Just once. Paused. Then forced a laugh. Dreams can feel real, Caleb. I leaned in. voice calm, expression blank. "I walked, doctor." He didn't respond, just disconnected the call. I didn't panic, because I already had what I needed. That night, I uploaded a clip of the session to a burner account on YouTube, unlisted, just one view, me. I named the file Therapy or Training, and scheduled it to go public automatically, in case I ever relapsed. Because when you've been trained like a lab rat for most of your life, you learn how to set your own traps. The next morning, Dad got a call. He took it in the kitchen, but I could hear everything. No, we didn't give him anything new. No, he doesn't suspect a thing. He turned and looked at me through the glass wall, smiled, waved. I waved back, because he was right. I didn't suspect a thing. I knew. The human body is built to move, even when it's told not to, even when it's drugged, denied, locked down. Mine had been waiting. Years of chemical shackles, years of sitting in place while my muscles faded and my spirit cracked. But that night, I ran. I left the house at 2:03 a.m., not in a blaze of glory, not screaming, "You lied to me," like some movie hero. Just quietly, pajamas, hoodie, no phone, no goodbye. I used the back door, the one that always jammed if you didn't lift it while pushing. I'd practiced it for weeks. The night air hit my face like freedom. I walked 4 blocks, legs wobbling but steady. By the time I reached the main road, I was running. It wasn't fast, it wasn't graceful, but every step felt like vengeance. I found a 24-hour gym on the edge of town. The lights were on. The glass doors buzzed when I touched them. The guy behind the counter looked up. He had a clipboard and eyes that said, "Not my problem." "You looking for someone?" he asked. "No," I said. "I'm looking for a job." He stared at me, took in the pajamas, the hoodie, the way I leaned on the counter to hide how bad my legs were shaking. "You serious? I can clean. I can stay all night. I don't need pay. I just want access." "Access to what?" I pointed at the treadmill behind him. His name was Marcus. He had tattoos and a limp from an old football injury. He didn't ask many questions. "Lockers in the back," he said. "Don't steal anything." "I won't." And I didn't. I swept the floors, mopped bathrooms, scrubbed equipment, then I trained. First week, treadmill at speed 1.0, holding both rails. Second week, no rails. Third week, added incline. By the end of the month, I could run half a mile without stopping. No one knew, not my parents, not Levi, not even Marcus. He just grunted at me one morning and tossed me a protein bar. "Don't pass out." I don't do CPR. The more I moved, the more I remembered who I was before the chair. The fire, the curiosity, the stubbornness. They hadn't broken me, they'd just put me in storage. I started keeping a journal, not of my feelings, screw that, of everything they did wrong, every lie, every manipulation, every time Dad gave me pills I didn't need, every therapy session I recorded. I didn't write it for closure, I wrote it for court. On my 24th birthday, Marcus gave me a cake. It said, "Happy birthday, Ghost." "Why Ghost?" I asked. He shrugged. "You never told me your real name. You show up, disappear, but always haunt the place." I smiled. First real one in years. Because haunting was exactly what I planned to do. And my family, they were about to feel it. Some people believe revenge is an act of rage. They're wrong. Revenge, done right, is patient. It's data, evidence, planning. Rage is loud, but truth can whisper and still destroy you. I went home with a plan. By then, my parents thought I'd grown more manageable. more at peace with his condition, Dad said at dinner. They had no idea I was running 4 miles every night and doing squats before breakfast. I bought 3 audio recorders. Tiny. Battery-powered, one under the dining table, one in the downstairs bathroom, where Mom always talked on the phone, and one behind the bookshelf in Levi's old room. He didn't live with us anymore, but he visited. A lot. Too much. Levi was the golden boy, captain of the football team, full scholarship, corporate job by 25. He'd always looked at me like I was furniture, not broken, just beneath him. But I started noticing things. He always changed the subject when I brought up doctors. He got nervous when I mentioned moving out. He once called me the retirement plan when he thought I couldn't hear. I could hear. I could always hear. 3 weeks in, I hit gold. Sunday night, Dad was away, Mom was baking. Levi was in his old room, on the phone. The audio wasn't perfect, but it was enough. After his next birthday, it's done. Yeah, the trust activates. Full control transfers to me if he's declared permanently incapacitated. Pause. No, he still believes he can't walk. Idiot doesn't even question it. Another voice, male, older, maybe Dad's. Just give him the new dose. Double it this time. No more second chances. I stopped the tape, replayed it. Slower. Again. Not just lies. They were planning to finish me. Financially, physically, maybe permanently. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and imagined what it would feel like to watch them beg. Beg for mercy. Beg for silence. Beg for the thing they'd never given me. Freedom. So I called Marcus. Still got that storage unit you never use? Yeah. Why? I need to build something. Within a week, I had a burner phone, 2 new IDs, a full copy of my trust's legal terms, and a press kit, yes, a press kit, about Caleb Turner, the boy who walked out of his chair. Because when you've been buried alive, you don't claw out. You explode upward. The last line on the audio recording, it was Levi. He said, "After this, he's gone. Just make it look like a seizure in his sleep. Mum'll handle the paperwork." I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just pressed upload and scheduled it to go live on every platform I could find. Title, "My brother tried to kill me. Here's the proof." Release date, my 25th birthday. The day they thought I'd finally be silent would be the day I burned their world down. They planned a party, streamers, balloons, sheet cake from the same bakery that had been feeding my lies since I was 6. 25 is a big one, Mum said. Quarter of a century, Dad nodded, handing me a gift bag. Levi even hugged me. Tight, like someone saying goodbye to a dog they just had put down. I played along. Wore the blue sweater Mom bought, sat in the chair, smiled for the photos, laughed at Levi's stupid toast. I was the perfect crippled little brother. For the last time. The plan was simple. The guests were family friends, neighbors, and, most importantly, 3 reporters I'd invited anonymously under the promise of a human miracle story. Marcus stood by outside, disguised as a delivery guy with a hidden camera. The living room speaker system had been rewired, and my phone, already connected to the TV. At exactly 7:31 p.m., I stood up. It was quiet at first, just a slow push of the armrest. Then the sound of the wheelchair creaking as I lifted myself, one leg, then the other. The room went still. Mom dropped her fork. Dad froze mid-sip. Levi just stared, eyes wide, like a glitching computer. Then I stepped forward, 1 step, 2. I reached the center of the room, stared at them, and I spoke. I am not disabled. I haven't been for over 10 years. The room didn't erupt. It sank into dead, echoing silence. Then I tapped the screen behind me. The TV lit up. Title: The Caleb Turner Files: How My Family Kept Me in a Wheelchair for Control and Cash. Audio played. Levi's voice: After this, he's gone. Just make it look like a seizure in his sleep. Gasps. Hands over mouths. Chairs scraped. And then, the pièce de résistance, Dr. Holloway's face, smiling, telling me phantom pain in my left arm was normal. The reporters stood up. Cameras clicked. Marcus walked in, pulled off his delivery cap, and gave me a nod. The trap had sprung. Mom broke first. "Caleb, please, let's talk about this." "Don't." I held up a hand. "Don't speak. Don't lie. Not tonight." Dad was silent, but his face, red, locked, veins bulging, told me what he wanted to say. "Levi?" He ran. Coward. I let him go, because by morning, his face would be on every screen in the city. Local family accused of medical abuse and inheritance fraud. Video evidence submitted anonymously confirms 19 years of fabricated disability. And me? I just stood there, on my own 2 feet, alive, awake, and no longer their secret. As the cameras flashed, I looked at Mom. "Do you remember what you told me when I was 6? She didn't answer, so I did it for her. "You said I was special, that I'd never walk, but God gave me something better." You were right. He gave me patience. And now, I'm done sitting down. The video hit 1.2 million views in 48 hours. Local news, national headlines, Reddit threads. Caleb Turner trended for 2 straight days. They called me the boy who walked out of the lie. But I wasn't interested in being a story. I was interested in being a verdict. Monday morning, the police knocked on our front door. Not gently. Mom tried to answer with a smile. Didn't last long. She was arrested on suspicion of medical neglect, conspiracy, and attempted inheritance fraud. Dad? They caught him on the way to his lawyer's office. They confiscated 2 burner phones and a briefcase full of forged medical files. Levi? Still missing. But I had time. I gave the DA everything. Flash drives, audio files, emails, payment records from the fake therapist, surveillance footage from inside my own house. Gathered over 2 years. The case didn't stall, didn't drag. It exploded. In the first hearing, Mum wouldn't look at me. When her lawyer tried to paint her as a misguided but loving mother, I slid a printed quote across the table. "We need to up his dosage. He's getting curious." Her voice, clear as glass. The courtroom gasped. She crumbled. Outside, reporters swarmed me. "Caleb, why didn't you run away sooner? Why stay in a house where you knew they were hurting you?" I looked at the cameras. Not angry, not emotional, just honest. Because I wasn't running. I was hunting. That night, the non-profit offers started coming in. Speaking engagements, book deals, a foundation wanting to name a rehabilitation center after me. I said no. This wasn't about survival porn. This wasn't about inspiration. This was about power, and for the first time in my life, I had it. Marcus and I sat on the rooftop of the gym that weekend. "I still think you should have punched Levi in the throat," he said. "I don't need to," I replied. I handed him an envelope. Inside, the last known location of Levi Turner, Dallas, Texas. Pseudonym, Lee Tanner. Hotel reservation under a fake ID. Already forwarded to U.S. Marshals. I didn't need to chase him. I made the truth chase him for me. When I got home, the house was empty. Furniture still there, lights still on, but no voices, no shadow passing behind me, no one watching. For the first time, the silence felt clean. I opened a window, breathed deep. The air smelled like dust and justice. The day the trust activated, My lawyer slid a thick envelope across the table. "Happy birthday," she said. "You're officially in control." Inside were documents that once required a guardian's signature. Now they just needed mine. Power of attorney, asset portfolio, real estate, stock options. Over $2.6 million in frozen inheritance, unlocked. Funny thing is, they were never supposed to touch that money, not unless I was deemed permanently incapacitated. Their plan wasn't to steal it, it was to make it fall into their laps when I died quietly. Instead, I walked into the bank, showed them my ID, and cashed the first check myself. I used the funds to do 4 things. Paid off Marcus's debt. He didn't ask, I didn't tell him. He just walked into the gym and found the bank receipt taped to his locker. Hired a legal team to sue the therapist, Holloway, and every clinic that enabled the false diagnosis. Founded a non-profit, the Turner Project, for children under medical coercion. Our slogan, "Walk away from the lie." Rented a short-term apartment in Austin because I had unfinished business. Levi was staying in a hotel under the name Lee Tanner. He'd been moving every few days, draining crypto wallets, wearing hats indoors like some cheap spy. I didn't go to confront him. I went to finish him. I waited outside the hotel in a hoodie, watching the revolving door. He came out around 6:20 p.m., heading toward the bar across the street. I followed. Not close, just close enough. At 6:35, the U.S. Marshals arrived. 4 of them. No sirens. I watched from across the street as they pinned him to the sidewalk. No struggle, just shock. He never thought I'd hunt back. He made eye contact once. There was fear in his eyes, but not regret, just disbelief, like he couldn't believe the little crippled brother grew teeth. I turned away before they finished cuffing him, because I wasn't there to see him fall. I was there to prove I stood taller now than he ever did. I walked back to my hotel on my own 2 feet. No cane, no brace, no witnesses. And at the front desk, I left a note. For Levi Turner, you wanted the trust fund. I used it to erase you. That night, I sat in the hotel room staring at the trust documents. There was a clause no one remembered, one Levi overlooked. The beneficiary may redirect inherited funds to causes of their choosing upon proof of survival and sound mind. I crossed out the line with my name and wrote, for the ones they said would never walk, from the one who did. I returned home on a Tuesday. The sun was out, birds were loud, typical spring day in Salt Lake. You'd never guess the house used to be a prison. No police tape, no broken windows, just the quiet kind of emptiness that settles after the war is over. I unlocked the door with the key they used to hang above the fridge, high enough I could never reach it. Now it rested in my palm, like a dead lie. The house was clean, too clean. The table had been wiped. Chairs tucked in. Even the family portrait above the fireplace was still there. Me in the chair. Levi, hand on my shoulder. Mom, smiling too hard. Dad, looking everywhere but the camera. A picture-perfect lie. I took it down. Didn't smash it, just laid it face down on the floor. I moved from room to room like I was tracing a crime scene. And in some way, I was. The kitchen, where Mom crushed pills into my applesauce. The couch where Dad reviewed my therapy sessions. The downstairs bathroom, where I'd hidden the first recorder. And then, the stairs. I climbed them slowly, not because I had to, because I wanted to feel every step, every defiance, every victory. Upstairs, my old never room, was still untouched. The fake storage excuse, the locked door, the carpet where I first realized they were hiding a life from me. I opened it. Inside, Nothing had changed. The desk, the small bed, the dusty closet with the shoes I never got to wear. I sat on the bed and cried. Not loud, not messy, just the kind of tears that taste like dust and time. Because here's the thing, no one tells you about revenge. You can win. You can burn everything down. But when the smoke clears, all you have left is the ash of who you used to be. I spent the night there, on the bed they never let me sleep in. Just me, a real body, real breath, and silence that didn't feel like captivity anymore. In the morning, I made toast. Used the toaster Dad once unplugged for safety. Sat on the porch, watched the world pass by without fear. No cameras, no pills, no one calling me champ like I was someone's pet. Then I grabbed a pen, pulled out the last copy of my trust documents, and wrote a note. This house is no longer haunted. I'm not the ghost they built anymore. I'm what survived the fire. As I locked the door for the last time, I didn't look back. Not at the house, not at the room, not at the chair still folded in the garage, because I wasn't escaping anymore. I was walking forward, and this time, every step was mine. I moved to Denver 3 weeks later. New apartment, new gym, new street with unfamiliar noises. No one knew me there. No one called me brave. No one called me anything at all. It was perfect. I walked everywhere. No car, no chair, just steps. Real ones. There's something sacred about putting your foot down where you were never supposed to stand. Every crosswalk was a rebellion. Every staircase a memory overwritten. One afternoon, I visited a community center downtown. They were opening a youth support group, survivors of familial control. No press, no cameras, just folding chairs and kids who didn't know what to call what happened to them. I didn't speak at first, but when I did, I kept it simple. Sometimes love is used like a leash. Sometimes care is just control in costume. And sometimes you don't even realize you're in a cage until you start walking. A girl in the back asked me, "How did you know it was time to leave?" I thought for a second. When sitting down started to feel more painful than standing up. The next week, I got a letter. No return address. Inside, just a short note. "You burned us to the ground, but maybe that's what it took to make us human again. L." Levi, I didn't reply. Let ghosts speak into silence. I don't owe them more. But I kept the letter, not out of nostalgia, out of clarity. That weekend, I ran my first 10K. No medals, no finish line speech. Just 6 miles of closure, each one quieter than the last. I crossed the finish line alone. No one clapped, and that was the point, because this time, I wasn't running to prove anything. I was just running because I could. Afterward, I walked home, stopped by the river, sat on a bench. No past behind me, no leash around my mind, no lie in my bones, just breath and silence and motion. Final hook, closing lines. They told me I'd never walk. So I ran, and when the world tried to sit me down again, I kept walking.